Hi everyone. Well, our application is really coming together, and I've decided that I want to start with typing in information for each load and clicking OK and having that be added to the loads list. Now, the way that's going to work is the user needs to click the plus sign. This area over here will initialize, and the cursor will go in the customer name field, and the OK button will be enabled. I'm thinking that I am going to need a way to know if the OK button is being clicked for an add versus for an update. So I think I've got a way to handle that. I'm going to go look at our code. And in our form code, I'm going to add another class level variable, or our first one actually. So that is going to be an integer. And I think what I'm going to use here is our current item in the list number. So we'll call it list index. In order to make sure that we don't ever run into a problem, I'm going to set that to an initial value of -1. And -1 in a list box means that there's no item selected. So we'll be able to use that, I think, for our other items that we're working on. So I'm going to add that to our Visio diagram. And it looks like we also need our file name to be added. So let's do that. Insert number after. And this is going to be my list index. That's going to be an integer. And then I'm going to add my file name. And we'll start out with that as an empty string. So in our program now, we should be able to use those to suit our needs. So let's go to our add new. Here it is. In our add new method right now, we set our label equal to add new. We can leave that code in if we like. That's good for troubleshooting. We'll make sure it's up to date before we turn this application over to anybody else. But if somebody clicks the add new button, we're going to assume that they want to add a new item. So we're going to set our index, list index, equal to -1. Now I know it's already -1, but something else could have changed it, and we want to set it to -1 to indicate that an add is occurring. I want to, when I do this, I'm going to set all of my text fields to be cleared. Look at all these options we have. Can we just say clear? There it sure is. And I want to clear my weight field. And my location. But it seems as though I'm missing something. So let's look at the form. The type of gravel. That's what I don't have. Okay. Now we made that a drop-down list. So in our code, there it is. We're going to clear that too. And let's see how that works for us. Remember, let's see, it's a combo box. CMB types. Can we say .clear? Nope. We'll set our selected index to -1, also to indicate that nothing has been selected. Now that sets us all ready to go so that if the user types in our data and presses enter, we'll be able to add that item. I want to set the focus on our text box name. And we should be all ready to go. I'll fix our message. Wrong place there, huh? All right. I'll go ahead and get rid of this extraneous one. So now in our add new, we're setting up to be aware that we're creating a new entry. Let's run this. If I click either of my add new buttons, I should see my message, enter data for new gravel load, and I see that my cursor is sitting here in my name field ready for me to do something. So what's going to happen when we click that OK button? Let's add a method. For our OK button, the first thing we're going to want to do is decide, are we adding or are we updating? We're going to know by that list index. If the list index equals -1, we know we're adding. And if we're adding, our best bet here would be to call another method so that we can actually do the editing that we need to do without getting our code too glommed up here in this method. We don't want too much code in each individual method. So if our list index is -1, let's think about how we could add a method. How about if we called it add to list? Now this method is not dependent on anything in our form, so I'm just going to come down to below the ending closing curly brace of my OK click event, and I'm going to create this method. It's not going to return anything, and it's not going to expect any data as a parameter because it's going to read all its data from the form and from our global variables. Okay, so we're ready to add to our list. All of our form fields act as class level variables, so we'll have access to all of them. What I'm going to do here is create a new instance of our load class. And we'll call it this load. And we'll say it's going to be a new instance of a load. That gets us set up because remember in our toString method for our load class, we're outputting all of the information. Now we can say that in this load, our name is going to be set to equal to our text box name. What else about this load? We could say that its type of gravel is going to be set to our combo box. Selected item. Now we're going to have some issues here because we said our type of gravel was a char data type. So we're actually going to have to call another method there probably to convert that. Look at us go. Okay, so I'm going to leave that error for a second, and then we're going to add some more for our load. Our weight is going to be equal to our weight, and our weight in ounces is going to be equal to our text box ounces. Look at all these errors I'm getting. Lastly, our location we should be able to properly set to our location text box. But we have some problems here with a bit of our data. First of all, I can go ahead and convert our, our text boxes that are our weights to integers. And I can do that because we're going to take care of validating those as numeric in another method. So I'll just go ahead and assume we've got that taken care of, and we can just convert them. Now, our type of gravel is another problem in and of itself. So we're going to need to do something for that. We'll comment it out and put it in as a to-do, right? Tofu. We fix that. Now, I've got a little bit going here. Let me go ahead and say that. We've got all this data ready. So we're going to take our list box and we're going to use our items, all of the items in our list box to add, and we want to add this load. Now, many things to fix, so let's see what we can do here. After we've added this load, we want to set our label. Keep doing that. All right, did it right at that line of code. We want to set our label, and we want to set our focus back to our list box, right? Because we're going to allow people to select another one, but we're going to give it the focus, and we're going to do something with our index, because right now we have it set to -1, which would indicate that we have something to add, and we haven't clicked that button now. Now we've clicked the OK button, so we need to do something with it. What do I name that thing? List index, not item index. List index equals I wonder if it'll give us that one. I'm just looking. So many things we could try. Index of returns the index within the collection of the specified item. I think we'll just set it equal to something else. A number that shouldn't come up in any of our applications here. We should never get a -99. So I've put some code in to try and add an item to our list. Let's see how it works. If I start out with the application, we're currently focused on our list box. I'm going to click the Add New. Now I'm ready to add a new load. So I'll say it's Joe's Gravel Bar. I'm going to pick a type of gravel even though we don't have that implemented yet, just because I like it. We probably ought to make that a little bigger, huh? 500 pounds. Are we really going to do much ounces in gravel? That's just more for you to have to worry about, isn't it? Now our delivery location here should be Joe's West Side Shop. Okay, so now if I click OK, my OK event is going to execute. And I do have some things in my list box here. I have Joe's Gravel Bar, at least the name. I'm missing all of the other information though that should come out of my toString. So I need to do some debugging. First, I'm going to look at my load class and check my toString method. Yeah, I'm returning all of these things. Maybe we should build those as a string. Let's just try that first. Okay, so all I did was change things up a little bit to build a string before I do the return. And then let's see if that gives us better information. Oh, still just only seeing that one piece of information, the name. So I better set up a breakpoint in the debugger. I'm going to look at my form code. And what I want to do is set up a breakpoint right here when I'm ready to add that to the list box. Come all the way over to my gray bar, my gray area, and click to set that breakpoint. Then I can run, add new, okay, so looking at my debugger code, here's this load, and it's all populated really well, right? I've got locations, name, type of gravel, weight. Look, everything's good. Why is it not working? Here's all my different options. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and step into this. It looks like everything is properly set up for this to work. And I should see it go into my toString. Here's my return value. I'm going to execute that line of code. And I see that my return value has all that information. What is that /0? That's what's messing us up, huh? Maybe because our char data type doesn't have anything. And it's returning that null value /0. So notice how it would have been really hard to find without the debugger. But assuming that's our problem, let's stop running. And in our default constructor, let's set this dot type of gravel equal to the letter A. Now I'm going to run again. So instead of that no value, I'll get a letter A. Joe's bar. Okay, now I'm not seeing that weird character. We'll keep going. My toString, my return value has all of the information. Keep returning. Now I should continue on. And yay, my list item looks good. So notice that that really weird problem could have been really hard to resolve if I didn't use the debugger. And notice that /0. Now, do I know /0 means no value? Well, sort of, but I know that any sort of backslash preceding a character is a control character to C#. So that makes me suspicious about something going on there. Looks good. I'm going to close this. So now we have our first, let me stop running here, our first function beginning to come together. Get rid of my breakpoint, Her ad. Now, there was a couple of things in our ad that I said we needed to fix. First of all, we can't assume that what the user typed in our text boxes for our weights is accurate. So we need to do something to edit those values and make sure they're valid. I'll show you what we're going to do. We're going to go to design mode of our form, and on this weight text box, I'm going to look at the events. I don't want any of our normal events like click or anything, but what I want is this key down. Now let's try key press, okay? And I'm going to name this method weight key press. When I press enter, it should add that method for us to our code. Perfect. Now, this method is going to execute every time someone presses a key. So there are some things that we can do in here when they press a key. First of all, we're looking at a status here called handled. This Boolean value is part of this key press event, and it specifies whether the key is something that should be handled or processed or not. And we're going to make that decision ourselves by saying, well, I want to check using the char class to see if this is a digit. And you know a digit is 0 through 9. What do I want to check? I want to check that key character that was passed. So if the key is a digit, then my handled event is going to be set to true. I'll update our message so we can see that. Okay, so I want to output the same information, this char.isDigit. Is it true or is it false? So is it going to let us run it this way? Let's try it. Now remember, I have this on that pounds. So I'm going to click plus to add something, and I'm just going to type down here F number false. Oh, that's correct. Now what if I type a number? True, but I can't see it. So our message is getting the right information, but our handled event is not being set properly if it's invalid. And so we're going to change that to be a not. So that means if it's not true, we'll set the handled event so that we can say, hey, we can't handle this letter. It's not right. Let's run it again. We'll see how that works. Now, if I type letters, they don't show up, and I see this number false message. Perfect. If I type numbers, great. They're truly numbers, and I see them show up. So they're being handled as part of our text. In this way, nobody can input anything that's an invalid value. Now all we need to do is associate this method with our other number, our ounces. So we'll put that in our key changed. Perfect. Now because we added that method, I'm going to add it also to our documentation here. And this is going to be a private method, and it is weight key pressed. So now we've taken care of that problem that we want to make sure that these text boxes have only numeric data, so we should not see anything that's not numeric. Now, notice this is a real simple check. It only allows the numbers 0 through 9, which is fine for our application because we should never have any negative weights in our load. But if we had to accommodate things like that, then we would have to add additional code into our keypress event to do that editing for us. What I think I'll do now is change this around a little bit to update our message. So let's see, I'll just copy this. So if it's a digit, we're fine. If not, we have a problem. We want to update our label message to say, please enter a numeric weight. Now everything should be working well. We need to worry about our type of gravel. We said it was a char, but yet we are putting these nice names to be displayed. So let's say that in our type of gravel, we've got a way to handle this. We're going to return a char based on that string that was selected. So we don't need to pass that to this method because it's available on our form, so we can get it there. So what I want to do is set up a string. It's going to be our value. We're going to set our value equal to our combo box types of gravel, and we want that selected item, selected text. Let's try selected text. That should work for us. And that's going to give us whatever they chose. Now I want to convert that to our char to return. So I'm going to say convert to char. And what I want to convert is our value. But I only want that first digit. And since a string is inherently an array of chars, I can grab that one value out and work with it. Now, we're going to see if that's going to work. I'm going to update my to-do here. It's a method, so it needs parentheses. Okay, so let's try our type of gravel. I'm going to run it. Add to sandbar. He's going to pick. Ooh, look, I have 2 R's and 2 C's. We'll have to fix that. He's going to pick some sand. Can't type any letters. Can't type any letters. Can't type numbers. Joe's East. Okay, now it's mad. It says, oh, I don't know what you're talking about with value. It didn't have anything. So let's see what our value is. Empty. Index was outside the bounds of the array. So apparently our selected text. Okay, it's fixed it was simple. Sometimes when we're working on things, we just get into a big bloody mess, right? So all I needed to do was set that string value equal to the combo box selected item dot toString, and then that pulls that string value out of that selected item. I was just making it too hard. Then again, I'm going to take the first character in that value and make that be our type of gravel. Now I need to do some things here because of these changes. First of all, I'm going to look at our UML. I've added another method, and this method is type of gravel. Good. And I want to update my form list here. So I'll click on this little quick events and edit the items because I really don't want duplicates in that first character. So rock, sand, creek rock, that's fine. Let's do Oklahoma red rock. And then our concrete, what should we call that? E-concrete. There's lots of different ways that we could handle that. And of course, our company would have already decided how these codes were going to work out. We're going to have to kind of do things on the fly here for ourselves. But no big deal. We've got it all figured out. Now we could create a nice enum with that. Let's do it. I'm going to look at those items again and copy them. And I'm going to go to my code. And I'm going to create that nice enum. Now, does that enum belong here in our form class, or would it belong more in our load class? Probably our load class. If you remember, the enum goes after the namespace, but before the class. So there are our entries. Let me fix this a little bit. I'm going to put a comma after each one. Make it all nice and pretty. Now, are we going to have to make those without spaces? Yeah, we can do that. Pretend our users are okay with it. Great. Okay, so now we've got our enum. What are you mad at me about? Oh, we got to name it. We'll name it gravel types. Great. Now I'm going to copy those again. Copy. Go back to my form and update that list. Once I get it set, I shouldn't have to mess with it anymore. But for now, I've got to fix it all. Oops. Okay, no comma. Probably would have been easier to just retype. All right, there are our types of gravel. Now I want that enum because I'm going to have to be going the other direction, right? There's going to be times that I might need to display the right thing based on what type of gravel I'm using. So we can do that in our enum. So we've got our ad pretty well done, right? We're letting them add this customer and this load, and we're showing it in the list box, and we're displaying a nice message that everything's good. So let's stop there and we'll come back and do some more.